friends, Jeff here and welcome to my corner and welcome to Quick Tip Tuesday number 6. In today's topic actually is do I paint the parts before assembly or do I paint my model after it's completely assembled? And this is a question that pops up regularly, and usually it's done by guys that just started out in the hobby or returned after a long absence or are just a novice to the hobby. And they get confused because when you look at the instruction sheet, most of the time the manufacturer will give you a color reference of how to paint the parts, and this is going through the build. So I can easily see the confusion when you're assembling your model and there are some parts that need to be painted. Do you do it right then or do you wait until the model is completely finished? Now, unfortunately, the answer is not as simple as it may seem because there is a big difference if you are an armor builder or an airplane builder, and completely two different approaches to how to paint your model. So hopefully in this session here I will be able to shed some light on a couple things and hopefully give you some pointers of what to do or what not to do. So let's have a look. So let's talk about armor first. Let's take for example this RB from Tamiya, and as you can tell I already have it completely built. There's a couple things I left off, but you can easily add those on too. I even left the tracks on. If you come across a model like that, it's very safe to say that you can completely build it straight out of the box, add some detail to it before painting. There won't be any issues whatsoever in painting this completely built. Now if you come across a more complex kit like this King Tiger from Tamiya, which I added Zimrit to it, and also a lot of photo etch, it's also safe to say that you can easily build this completely, add all the detail on, and before painting. What you don't want to do is add photo etch on later or any detail on later, because you don't want to deal with any glue or any photo etch or anything else after you already put like a coat of paint on it. So build as much as you can, and you won't have any issues painting it afterwards. Of course, leave the turret separately, and in this case it comes with separate track links, so it is advisable to leave those off too and paint them separately and then add them on later when you're finishing your model. But again, in this case, no big deal. There won't be any issues in painting this after you completely build the model. Then you have the wheeled vehicles, like in this case, this is an ICM German truck. If you're dealing with a chassis and a truck bed, it's better and advisable to leave those things separate. It's easy accessible. You can easily go with your airbrush all over the place without any problem. So if you're dealing with a truck like that, try to keep it in a couple pieces, like 3 sections maybe. You get like the truck bed here, you get the cabin and the chassis, and of course I got like a little box with some separate pieces like the wheels and the doors. But again, you can do almost 90% of the work without any issues or running into issues with painting. Now last but not least, you have also the more intricate pieces in armor, like for instance this Pack 40 from AFE, very delicate, comes with a lot of photo etch, comes with a metal barrel, and it is advisable to leave those in a couple sections too, because you don't want to glue this together. There's a lot of corners and areas where you would run into a problem if you would assemble it in one piece and then try to paint it. So again, keep as many, or at least build it into a couple of sections, that afterwards it's just a small thing to put it together, and then you're good to go. Of course, there is the airplane kit. As you can tell by the parts in front of me, this is the P38 from Tamiya, an absolutely beautiful and gorgeous kit. Now, an airplane kit is a completely different animal than an armor kit, and you can already tell the difference. It comes with a lot of steps. It's a completely different approach in building the kit, and if you want to do an absolutely good job, you need to technically stick with the instructions. If the manufacturer tells you to paint something before assembling, there is usually a reason for it. Now you might say, well, you know, I'm not really don't care about the cockpit, I just want to close my canopy. then of course it makes it a lot easier. But if you want to do a competitive job, if you want to say, okay, I want to show off the cockpit, then the first thing you have to do in 90% of the airplane kits is paint the cockpit before you can assemble the fuselage and the wings and so forth. The same thing you have to do with the wheel wells, the landing gear, and the ordnance, drop tanks. Anything that is very intricate and fragile that you can't put together before airbrushing, you have to leave separate. So it's a lot more work. It's like an overcomplicated puzzle, but of course the result is worth it. So generally speaking, if we can look back on everything, an armor piece you can basically paint like 90% after the build. You can start building, you can start painting it. With an airplane, you really have to do it step by step and stick with the instructions, or at least try to paint as much as you can before assembling, and then go from there. So I hope that shed a little light on the question of do I paint before or after I assembling. Unfortunately, if you're an airplane builder, you're in a lot more trouble than if you're an armor builder, because there's a lot more work. But again, it's a labor of love. You do what you can, and hopefully, at least during the build, you have some enjoyment out of it. So hope you like it. Hope that like I said, I was able to explain a little bit about painting. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and share us on Facebook. And I see you guys at the next Quick Tip Tuesday, number 7. Jeff E. here, signing off.